point out, I do like the way when you move, it kind of like differs the animation. It's like it leans downwards, you get me?
Mm.
And then like the more you do it, the more it leans. The little variation of power-ups you can gather. That's quite nice. I like the fact there are multiple characters you can choose from. Like, it's a lot nicer than just the usual like shooter where you're just in there in your little spaceship. It's like, oh, obviously it makes no sense that there's an octopus in space. But it's quite nice to have that just variation of choice, you know? Just makes the game seem more in-depth without having to do much. In terms of, well, I think the power-up's different for each character as well. I like the little look of it looks different compared to each player. Oh, I'm dead. Background's just kind of plain.
Mm.
It's just kind of, I don't know. I think it makes it harder to see stuff. Like because it's got like the black background, that's fine. Like, because it's, you know, it's space, but then the stars are coloured. But all the enemies are coloured as well, so it kind of blends in. When there's a lot of bullets flying, you can't tell what's a bullet and what's a star.
Mm.
If you get me. Okay, now I'm going to like a nicer. Oh, that was kind of cool. They had like a nice transition between space and going down into like an ocean area. Ooh, now I have a fish flying at me. This game's really weird. The game's hard though.
Mm.
Like really hard. But I think that kind of like adds to it in a way. I feel like as long as the game controls well in terms of like if you mess up it's your fault kind of thing. Yeah, if it's like unfairly hard, like there's no reason you should be dying or something, like, because with this it's kind of your own fault if you do die, like, and I think that's good because it adds like that level of like difficulty and like tenseness to the game. Where it's like kind of, especially if you have like a high score system with it, I think that's an important part because then you can compete with your friends to get the best score, and it kind of gives the game more like just incentive towards it all. Because if I was just doing this just flying around, I wouldn't know what I was doing, or but if it was just the game controlling badly, it's kind of
then that would be unfair,
yeah,
and
so I think
that would be annoying.
if you're gonna do a game with like a more difficult thing, you've got to make sure the controls and that are alright and everything's in place for you to be able to actually get past, but it'd be a challenge instead of just you can't get past because the game sucks. I think I'd like a little explanation of what's going on, even if it's just text. It's just a why I'm a penguin flying through the air. It doesn't have to be like explanation of the characters, just explanation of like what's going on and where I am, if that makes sense. I quite like all the enemies actually. There's a nice variation of enemy. There's a nice there's a lot of enemies in the game and it's quite nice. There's a nice it doesn't feel like it's just repeating, you know? They have different moves as well. Like you'll have them like right now there are like crabs on the floor shooting upwards while I have like whales jumping at me. Like, you know, there's a lot going on at once and that's quite keeps me on edge. The animation's quite nice actually. Like it's quite simple, but it works. Like, because obviously it's a shooter, like you don't need much, but I feel like that little implementation of just the little like moving like that, going up and down, really adds to it, to be honest. I like the fact that, you know, I mentioned the different characters. I like the fact there are different characters, but what also adds to that is the fact that there are multiple different weapons for those characters. If that makes sense, like there are the characters play in a different way. Like only a little bit, but it works. Like, cause like this ship has like, as far as I can tell, a faster shoot than like the penguin did and the squid. And like each power up for each character is different, and it makes sense because it wouldn't make sense if like a penguin was getting fuel to power up.
True.
Like, I haven't come into any bosses unfortunately, but
oh yeah, there is a boss at the end of this.
Yeah, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, it's
I can't get to the boss.
So it's very hard.
Yeah, it's not bad though. It's
yeah,
fun, actually.
That's what I was like wondering about it.
Yeah, no, the level of difficulty I think is pretty spot on, to be honest. Like, because obviously then you can keep going. It kind of has that addictive factor to it, and I feel that it's quite important for a shooter.
I like how like at first I thought it was going to just be like all what do I call it, spaceship, but like an actual octopus and option players, and also like how they all have different abilities and stuff, like different stats. I died. I died already.
Hard game. Do you think the difficulty is good, or?
Yeah, I like how the game like starts on low difficulty, so the player sort of knows what they're doing, and then speeds up like really slowly.
Oh yeah, there are checkpoints, like when you go past a
It's very
certain
angry
bit.
chicken. It's very angry chicken.
Do you think that's good, checkpoints? Like, if
Yeah,
so,
like on this
long
kind of game,
level?
you don't want to get really far in and then it's crashed again. Then it's all random kind of enemies. It's not just sort of like a theme, like if it's not like a dino thing, it's not like a train group, it's like all random kind of stuff. Like this game is quite old, so I don't think it needs that many animations and stuff. Like maybe if it was like a more modern adaptation of it, have more animations involved, like more smooth animations. But I don't think you need it for this kind of stuff. And I do like the graphics, so like I'm not sure if it's because they intended for it to be like this, but I do like how the graphics suit the game itself. Like, it's not too blocky, but it's blocky enough. Like, still be good, because it's a good pixel art and stuff. So I think it matches it quite well. I also like how it's look at how the game speeds up, but the background doesn't. Like at first, the player's going quite slow, so it sort of shows how the speed of the game itself. It's not just. Oh, I love his death animation. I love how unique each character is. Like, has its own stuff. A spaceship, it's like this circle. It's a piece of power. That's like a jellyfish that drops instead. But yeah, I do like how it's though. Sort of like see. It's like another incentive to sort of try our best. To sort of like keep pushing myself to try and beat it and stuff.
The menu screen looks pretty, like, it's simple but it's effective. I think all the character choices that you can have are actually like really cool. Like it's nice to have choice in a game because there's not always a lot of that in old school games. The graphics are really good. Like everything's well animated. The backgrounds are all really nice. But like I said earlier, they're simple. They work, and like it's just like the scrolling stars style actually makes more sense. The backgrounds in particular are quite nice because it's just like parallaxed movement of some coloured dots, and it's so simple, but just you understand exactly what's going on by that when that comes around. Player animations is like simple. It's enough,
Right.
but it could be more.
Is it a necessity to have it more?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
Do you think it's difficult?
It is quite difficult, but I want game over. Great.
But is it like the right type of difficult?
I think it's one of those games where you want to do better. Like, you know it's hard, but you know every time you play it you get better. So you choose to play it again. And that's the good kind of difficult, because you know you can advance and achieve more, and you want to see how far you can go. And I think in this particular case the score counter that it has helps, because you can judge how well you're doing by the score that you get. For this kind of game, I would say it's quite important, because you want to track your progress in a game where you're like the main objective is to kill things and gain the points that they give you. You're going to want to know how many of those points you've accumulated. So it's quite important. I think the HUD is quite simple and could probably be improved. Like if it had a health system instead of just you get hit and you die.
What do you think of the enemies? Do you like the variation?
I like the styles, and I think it's quite cool that they're not repeats, like each different one. Like the different zones have different enemies, and so like this ocean zone right here has got fish and like whales and stuff. It's a good thing to have different enemies, multiple styles of enemies, and they like have different actions and ways that they try and kill you, because then it just makes it more challenging and more enjoyable for the player. Different movement styles and like tactics. So like there's some crawling on the ceiling, some jumping up from the bottom, some just coming, like there's just like flying space chickens trying to eat me right now. It's all fun, because like each character has different abilities. So like you do the right combination of movements and like firing them, and you shoot different types of bullets. and like in different directions and stuff. I like the backgrounds because they're quite detailed in a way. They're like they show a setting, but they also show a bit of like a story because, for instance, in this one there's a boat wreckage, so maybe something's gone on. Maybe it's just there for decoration, but you never know. Like if there were a story, that would be one way to tell it.
Do you think make it like more in depth, or maybe just like a kind of like a wall of text at the beginning with like a picture, or like a couple of pictures at the start to like describe? Or
I think a mix of both, like being able to see the story happening. Like if you're told the story at the start, then you know what's going on. But if to be able to see it then happening throughout the level, or and the in the game, would be another good thing, because you'd be able to. It wouldn't feel like it's just been thrown in for the sake of it.
do you think that's helpful? Like that it doesn't send you back to the start every time you die? Like if you get past the checkpoint, it will.
Yeah, I think that's something that you'd want to do. I mean, ultimately, if you have to restart the whole game, then maybe you should be put back.
Because you don't really know when you've hit the checkpoint until you've died and respawn back there. Do you think there'd be like a good idea to have something?
Yeah, I think there should be a
signifying?
marker, and that'd be another way of telling the player, that they're doing good at the game and that they're achieved something. As well, and that works with the score as well, and maybe that could also be on the HUD, like how many checkpoints, or whether or not there's a checkpoint coming up.
Do you think difficulty is good in a shoot 'em up?
Well, I guess so, yeah. Because I feel like if you've got an easy shoot 'em up, it's a bit boring. It doesn't feel very rewarding.
Do you like the general premise of power-ups?
Yeah, I feel like if you've not got any power-ups in a shooter and you ramp up the difficulty in a certain section, then it becomes too difficult and borderline unplayable. Because I was playing a couple of other shooters and it's difficult. No, I was playing a couple of other shooters, and when you die you lose all your power-ups, but you get to a checkpoint, and because you're at a checkpoint with no power-ups, it's just ridiculously difficult to get past. So
What do you think about the whole system of it, you getting hit once and then you dying? Do you think that's a bit unfair? Do you think?
I think that's the best thing to do for a shooter, because if you're following the classic shooters, then a good idea is to have multiple lives, but you die instantly. Checkpoints is a good thing to have, because it just means if you do die, you've got a chance to carry on from where you left off, really.
Do you think when you die for when you get the game over, do you think you should start at the beginning?
No, I do like how the checkpoints work. I feel like they're a good thing to have. I really like how everything's like animals in this. You've got chickens flying into you, and you're a spaceship just shooting down chickens.
Do you like the variation of enemies in this then?
Yeah, there's quite a lot I've seen so far.
Do you think that's better than repeating enemies?
Yeah, if you repeat enemies, you learn what they do. They become predictable and easy. Whereas if you've got 10 different enemies.
What do you think of the HUD actually?
It's very it's simple, and that I think pays off, because if you've got a fast-paced game with things flying on the screen everywhere, you want a minimal heads-up display.
So nothing anymore, do you think? It wouldn't?
Yeah, you wouldn't want any more than this, because if you've got
Things flying
if
up.
stuff's obscuring your vision while you're trying to play the game, it can be a bit frustrating.
What do you think of the animations for the character and stuff?
I like them. They're really simple, and I think that pays off quite well.
Do you think any more would be unnecessary?
Yeah, I feel like more would be unnecessary, because the speed that the animations play, any more would just be meaningless, really, because the speed that they play already looks really smooth.
If it was a bit more concise with the theming, and it had a little bit of a story, would you want it to be a bit longer, or would you want it to be a bit shorter? What do you think matches shooter?
I think if you pull either one off, it works really well, because if you've got a storyline, you've got more background to the game as a whole. But if you choose not to have that in-depth storyline, you can get straight into the game itself.
So what did you think about the boss?
The boss was good. I liked that boss because it's not ridiculously difficult for a first boss.
Mm.
And the way it has, like, you have to shoot this specific weak point to kill it. That
Do you think that's
I
good?
think that always works quite well in shooters.
Did you think it was good that it like showed you specifically with like
Yeah, 'cause
flashing?
it flashes. So yeah, that's a good thing to have.